Hi everyone and welcome to another video of Race to the White House Election Forecast 2024. In this video we're going to take a penultimate update at our model before election day on November the 5th. So in the latest weeks really the election seems to have shifted in favor of former President Donald Trump. Starting right off the bat with the national polls, as you can see right here, Donald Trump has taken the lead in real politics, national poll average. This is an unprecedented moment, as Trump has never led in the national popular vote in 2016 and in 2020. I think briefly led Hillary Clinton in July 2016 after the convention, if I'm not wrong, but that was really short period of time. But as you can see right now, Harris has really been leading by more than 2 points for most of the cycle in real politics average. And in the latest few weeks, really from mid-October, it's not that long. We have seen many national polls, many interesting, many good polls like the Wall Street Journal's polls, like NBC News polls, like CNN polls showing them tied, and other polls showing Trump ahead. As you can see right now, there is more red. Already it's 50-50, but important thing is that Trump has really taken the lead. What's important here and what's really important to understand the video is that look here today on October 29th in 2020 and 2016. In 2020, Biden had the whopping 7.4 lead against Trump, and Clinton has a 4.6 lead in 2016. Remember that in 2020, Biden actually won by 4.6 points, and in 2016, Clinton won by just 2.1 points. This means that really, on a national level, polls have been underestimating Trump as well as in the state level. Second thing to take into account is that, as you can see right here, as you remember, look at 2020. In 2020, this was the map. Biden won 306 to 232 in favor of Trump. So we're talking about big margins. We're talking about 37 electoral votes more than needed for Biden to win. But as you can see right here, Biden won the popular vote by 4.6 points and 7 million votes. But at the end, the election was decided by just 4,000 votes in the three tail states, the state of Wisconsin, with Georgia and Arizona. Biden won Arizona by just 10,000 votes, Arizona by around 10,000 votes, and Wisconsin by around 20,000 votes. So an aggregate around 40,000 votes. If Trump had flipped those three states with just more than 40,000 votes, he would become the president. He would remain president with 269 electoral votes. So most likely there would have been really a contingent election, but the most likely scenario was really that he would be re-elected in the House of Representatives. So the important thing to understand right here is that, as you know, the Electoral College is biased towards a Republican. And again, in 2020, the bias was around 4 points because really the state of Wisconsin voted with Biden by just 0.6 points. So if you take 4.6 minus 0.6, you have a 4-point bias for the Republicans, which means that the Democratic candidate needed to win the popular vote by 4 points in order to win the Electoral College. In 2024, many pundits think that the electoral bias will actually narrow down, right? That the margin, the electoral bias will actually be smaller. This is mainly because of what polls are showing, right? It's the fact that polls, despite showing right now Trump actually leading the popular vote, we have that Harris is within reach in many states, and she could actually win Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, because right now she's even according to, for example, 538 polling averages, which means that it's really, many haven't ruled out the fact that maybe Harris could win the Electoral College losing the popular vote. I'm a little bit more skeptical, because when you're talking about national polls and state polls, you can't really merge them together. Alright, this is something that I'm really skeptical of doing. They are different polls. They have been carried out by different institutes with different level of accuracies, because of course national polls are more accurate, they are more funded, they have different poll errors, and they have different dynamics and different methodologies. So I think that when you say, like, if you look at national polls and state polls and you compare the results to find the Electoral College bias, it's not really, maybe it may not be as accurate as you'd like. Another argument, another point actually, which I think is really more interesting, is that Trump is making big gains in big states, in particular in the state of New York, in the state of California, and in the state of Florida. We expect Trump to really gain some votes in New York. New York voted by 23 points in favor of Biden. If you look at the projected margins right here, in 2024, you see that New York is projected to vote for Harris by around 18 points. So it's a 5-point shift in favor of really the Democratic candidate, the Republican candidate, which in a state like New York, which is really good, it means many votes, all right? It means thousands of votes. The state of California too, Trump is expected to do better in these states, but of course those states are not really in play, right? There is no way that Trump's going to win California or New York unless he wins by, I don't know, like 10 or 15 points or even more the popular vote. So they're really out of the map of the Electoral College, but when it comes to the popular vote, those states, Democrats doing worse in those states may actually mean that they will, again, they will, if they maintain this vote, the notion is they should maintain votes, they should maintain support here in the swing states, and if they lose some votes here in New York, that doesn't matter, they're still gonna win the electoral votes, and this really helps them carry more electoral votes without more popular vote, without more national votes in absolute value, which really narrows down the electoral bias, because of course there are many votes for the Republican candidate. So this is of course true in Florida. All right, Trump is expected to make big gains in Florida. As you can see right now, we have Florida as a whopping, as you can see right now, a whopping 11 points in favor of Trump, because this is a good projection for Trump. All right, we're in a good moment for Trump, but it's entirely possible that Florida votes for Trump by more than 8 points or even more than 10 points. So again, popular state, so maybe these electoral bias will narrow down. But in general, I think that Harris still needs to win the popular vote by around at least 2 points, all right? Maybe more, maybe a little bit less, but this is the margin, this is the target, all right? If Trump wins the popular vote or they are tied, Trump is really likely to win the presidency. As I said a little bit earlier, as I said, the race has shifted in a sense that a few weeks ago we were in a situation where Harris was leading by around 2.5 points, 3 points in the popular vote, which is really the target that I talked about a few seconds ago. In the swing states, Harris was leading in certain states. We had polling errors that were taken into account. Trump was leading in other states. So we were in a situation where we were saying if polls are right, so if polls basically are right, the election is too close to call, and we have to wait until the last vote is counted to really understand what's going on. Of course, an upset was possible in either direction. Now we are in a different situation, because right now, if polls are correct, for example, if you see this 0.1 point average is correct, Trump is the clear winner. All right, Trump is likely to win the presidency if polls are correct right now. Of course, an upset is very possible and is very well within the margin of error. But the difference for Harris is that a few weeks ago, a national situation that resembled polls were good for her, all right, was good for her, or at least it was really not good, not bad, it was neutral. Right now, she has to expect a poll missing, all right? Polls should be a little bit wrong right now to make Harris president. It's possible, but again, this is different from a few weeks ago. And again, another important thing is, as you can see right here, we are in a Trump era, all right? In a Trump era where, of course, polls have been wrong all the way. In 2020, let's take, for example, the state of Pennsylvania. State of Pennsylvania in 2020, according to 538 point average, you had Biden leading by around 5 points, 4.7 points on November the 3rd, election day, and actually winning the state by 1.2 points. The polling error was really bigger if you go in the states of Michigan and Wisconsin. The state of Michigan had Biden leading by 7.9 points. Actually, he ended up winning the state by just 2.8 points. And again, more interestingly, if you go in Wisconsin, you have Trump winning, Biden winning by 8.4 points according to polls. While Biden won the state by just 0.6 points. So a big poll miss here in Wisconsin and here in the region, while here in the really south polls were more accurate, right? Let's say, for example, the state of Arizona, for example, or Georgia. State of Georgia really 538 at Biden, just at 1.2 points. He actually won by 0.2 points. So the underestimation was as important right here. And actually, throughout the cycle, 538 as Trump actually leading at some points. So really, in the South, polls were really better. Many people will tell you that poll methodologies have changed. We don't know really. This is something that we don't know. If polls are as bad as they were in 2020, I think Trump is going to wipe the floor out in the election. He's going to really trounce Harris because he's going to win over those states by big margins. I don't expect polls to be as bad as in 2020 or in 2016. The question is by how much, all right? Will polls be pretty accurate? Will they overestimate Harris by just a tiny bit? In this case, it's still good for Trump, or will they underestimate Harris, which is possible, right? Which is possible. In 2020, they underestimated Obama, by 4 points. This is something that right now Harris wants, all right? It would be really good for her if polls underestimated by 4 points. She would win the popular vote by 4 points. That wouldn't be really a guarantee of victory for her, even at 4 points with the electoral bias we're seeing in 2020, but it would be likely. It would be a likely victory for her. So really, we don't know, and it's never happened that in modern era really that polls underestimated a certain party for 3 consecutive elections. They underestimated Trump in 2020 and 2016, so we may expect this year to underestimate Harris, but this is of course something that really does not have a scientific or even a statistical significance right here. The fact is that many people would say that in a midterms, polls actually underestimated the Democrats. For example, if you go to the state, let's say the state of Pennsylvania for the Senate election, Pennsylvania was a really hotly contested race, but at the end, if you take a look at 538 polling averages, really good instruments to look at. You have the Republican candidate Dr. Ott leading by 0.5 points. Fetterman won by 4.5 points in 2022. A caveat is don't really read much into midterms because there is really a big change from midterms to presidential election. In 2018, we've seen Democrats doing really good. We've seen Democrats gaining ground right here in the upper Midwest. They did really good in Iowa. They did good in Ohio. Brown won Ohio. They did really good in the Midwest states. So we thought around in 2020 polls are going to be correct. In 2020, the Democrats are going to retake the region. And then in 2020, the poll error was worse than 2016. So really, there is no such way to understand that, alright? You just need to wait. So right now, let's try to fill them up, alright? I'll start here from North Carolina and from the 3 northern states. North Carolina polls have really been good for Trump. He's been leading all the way, and really since Harris got into the race, there were really few polls showing her around. And the polls that really showed Trump up really didn't show him doing so good. But I think trend is what matters, and North Carolina is demographically speaking a more conservative state, in particular than Georgia and Arizona. In the upper Midwest, I'm going to put Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania down as lean Republican right now, as I expect them to vote by more than 2 points in favor of Trump. That's because they've been trending really strong to the right from 2012 to 2008 and 2012 to 2020 and 2016. I expect that continue the margin, in particular, even relative to the nation. The nation is going to shift a little bit to the left, to the right of the nation, if Harris is not going to win by more than 4.5 points. So I expect the trend to be really important right here. Demographically speaking, they are really conservative. I think the Democratic roots may actually turn out as many votes as they want, and we may see in polls that really, if Harris was leading here in August, September, it was like a silver line for Democrats, just something to say, we are leading here. Now she's trading in all 3 states. And of course, those states really underestimated Trump in 2016, in 2020 and 2016. So I expect right now, this moment, Trump to win them, and of course, things may change, right? She may really do great with a certain demographics. She may really play up certain issue. For example, the issue of abortion may have a bigger bearing than expected. Voters may be put off by Trump. Some moderate Republicans can actually turn the table. Many things happen, but right now, Trump is slightly favored in those states, and we expect Michigan to go red by 2 points with an associated probability of 65%, 67%, excuse me, and Pennsylvania with a similar margin, while Wisconsin right now by a bigger margin. Wisconsin is, demographically speaking, I've told you many times, the most conservative state among swing states, and I expect it to really lean Republican and possibly voting to the right of many swing states. That's my take and the take of the model, really. In the South, of course, we have those states that have really voted Republicans in the few latest years, but like opposite to these states, they've been trending to the right, to the left. Young population, urban population, in particular in urban areas in Arizona and Georgia. We're talking about the Atlanta suburbs. We're talking about Maricopa County in Tucson. And we are talking about polls that, yes, they've been better for Trump. Trump is leading by 2.5 points right here in Arizona and Georgia. But those polls have been actually better at understanding Trump's support than in the Rust Belt. So I expect those states actually to vote to the left in this particular circumstance of those other Rust Belt states, and they'll go down as tilt Republican like now. Of course, it's entirely possible that both states will vote actually to the right of those other states if Trump does really good with the Republican establishment, white, educated people in both countries that really make up a good demographic and a big demographic. But the Democrats are really tapping into those demographics. Those states are really younger and expanding. There may be a caveat here for Latino and here for Black people. If they shift really to the right, maybe those states could actually become more and more right-leaning in this election, but they've shown a really leftward trend. Again, we're talking about 1 point, so really it's difficult to rank those states, but I expect them not to be so really to vote really to the right of those states. I would not take this as granted. Indeed, I really putting those states a little bit to the left of those other Rust Belt states. Right now, I have Arizona voting for Trump by 1.3 and Georgia by 1. To finish with the state of Nevada, the state of Nevada was really not a swing state until these few years. In 2008, for example, it voted by more than 10 points in favor of Obama. After 2004 and 2000, in 2004 and 2000, it really voted was really a swing state because it voted for Bush by really small margins. From 2016 to 2020, Nevada shifted to the right because it was won by both Clinton and Biden by 2 points, despite the nation shifting to the right by 2.5 points. And of course, this may really come into our analysis in this election. We've seen Harris polling better than expected in Nevada because Trump is only trailing by around 0.7%. And Nevada was the only state that had actually a negative correlation, actually really underestimated Biden in 2020. For example, by Weekly Politics actually nailed the exact result, Biden plus 2.4. So Nevada is a post where Trump were really underestimated the least. This is a good sign for Harris. But we have Latino population that is growing, and we know that Trump has made big inroads into that population. So on the other hand, we have the states that are really blue collars, and demographically speaking, it's a little bit, we're talking about the labor market a little bit closer to the Rust Belt state, as there are many blue collar voters. Unions are really strong in Nevada, but we've seen that those really voters have really shifted to the right in recent years. there is a good democratic apparatus in Nevada. There are people that are really moving from California to Nevada, so liberal people. And there are the hospitality people that in 2020 were really good people for Biden. They really tipped the scale. So it's difficult to understand because it's really trending to the right, but we have certain fundamental things that point to a right shift and certain things that say Democrats are doing better in this state. Right now, I'm putting Nevada as still Republican, as I think that Trump will be able to flip it. And right now, Nevada gives Nevada a Republican plus 1.2 rating. So this is the map right now. We have the first time Trump wins all those states. Harris should really shift the national picture by 2.5, 3 points to have a shot at winning certain states. I'm going out on a limb and I'm saying that maybe the first state that she could carry are some states in the south. All right, I don't think that the Rust Belt path that many have been touting, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, is a doable path while losing those other states. I believe that if Harris wins all those three states, then she'll have won at least Georgia and maybe even Arizona, and possibly even Nevada. So I think that the combination for Harris is what really should be taken into account. Michigan is the most fundamentally left-leaning state of the region. We have our population, Muslim population, angry at Harris, but fundamentally speaking, we're talking about education, we're talking about urban population. Michigan is the most fundamental left-leaning state. Then we got Georgia right here, and then Harris would need at least one other state. That would be North Carolina. I doubt it. That would be really possible if she does extraordinarily good with black population and with urban population and really specifically in the tech triangle of Raleigh, Chapel Hill, and Durham. Possible, but I think if she gets North Carolina, she may get in Pennsylvania. I think that this may actually be the most likely scenario for a Harris win, alright, for a narrow Harris win. Trump may have a little bit more path right now, because if you give him Wisconsin and really Wisconsin and North Carolina, she just needs Pennsylvania and Nevada, or really Pennsylvania and Arizona to win the election. So, or even Pennsylvania and Georgia. So right now, Trump is in better position to win the election. I forgot to tell you that right now Harris is projected to win by just 0.5%. So we would have another difference between the winner of the popular vote and the winner of the Electoral College. For what concerns the Senate, I'll give you my ratings. I expect Republicans to do very good, and they win Nevada, Montana, and I think they'll win Ohio too. I expect Trump to win Ohio by a whopping 13 points, as you can see right now. Ohio has really been trending, actually 13 points. It's really been trending to the right. I don't expect that the Democratic candidate, Brown, could actually in any way win an area with political vote is so low, actually overperform Harris by that margin. When we're talking about the Rust Belt states, we have different scenarios because in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, the most right-leaning states, in particular Wisconsin, the incumbents Baldwin in Wisconsin and Casey in Pennsylvania are really well liked. So I expect them to outperform Harris by a big margin. Michigan is the most left-leaning state, but it has no incumbent, alright? So Elissa Stockton is well liked. She's very like representative, but I expect her to outperform Harris by a slighter margin than Baldwin and Casey. I think that maybe Slotkin may outperform Harris by 2-3 points, and Baldwin and Casey by even 4 or 5 points, or maybe less. But this is probably the most likely scenario. So if Trump wins all 3 states by big margins, for example, win the popular vote by just 1 point, that would do it. I think the Republican may have a good shot at flipping those 3 states. On the other hand, it is possible that Trump wins either one of those states and then the state goes to the Democrats for what concerns the Senate. In Arizona and Nevada, I think that Democrats are favored. Ruben Gallego is favoured against Carrie Lake, and he's expected to outperform Harris by big margins. He's a very well liked representative in Maricopa County. Lake is somewhat controversial, and I don't expect Trump to win Arizona by big margins. Maybe I'll be really, maybe he will, but I don't think right now Arizona will vote for Trump by more than 2 points or 3 points. So I expect Gallego to win the state in many scenarios. Nevada would actually be a little bit more favorable to Republicans, but the incumbent senator is really, really well liked and is really doing good in polls. So I expect her to outperform Harris by many points, by 4 or 5 points, maybe even more, maybe, or unlikely but possible. But again, 4 or 5 points is the range we're talking about. I don't expect Trump to win the state by more than 2 or 3 points because of the really democratic roots right here. So I expect those states to go Democrats. And if there is a big Republican wave in which all swing states vote Republicans, I expect those states to vote the state of the Republicans by the smallest margins in the Senate. For what concerns the House, I've posted a projection in my Instagram account. Right now, I give Republicans the upper hand, but the race is so close and will come down to some pick-up opportunities in crossover districts that voted for a president in 2020 but are represented by a member of Congress from the opposite party. Right now, but just right now, I think that Republicans may catch the opportunities a little bit better. Alright, for example, I think they'll win Alaska, they may win in the second district in New Mexico, and I think that Democrats may struggle to win as many seats as they want in New York and California. But this is really close, and again, New York and California will be the key, as there are really many seats right here, hordes of seats in California and New York. They could alone flip the control of the House. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like the video if you liked it, and be free to comment with your thoughts, and stay updated for the final week with latest projection and latest analysis of the race, as the election is really getting closer and we want to figure out who's winning the election. Right now, Trump is favored, but stay tuned for up-to-date projection, polls, demographic analysis, and really see how the race to the White House is going with the latest updates. See you next time on Race to the White House.